So, you're here because you've got a Jeep, the pesky check engine light is on, and you're staring down a code P1282. Yeah, it's a super frustrating spot to be in, but hey, don't worry. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what's going on and how you can fix it. Let's get right into it.
Yep, there it is, that check engine light. It feels like it's mocking you, right? And the scanner spits out P1282. It's an annoying situation for sure, but you've come to the right place. We're going to break down what this code means and, more importantly, how you can get your Jeep running right again.
Here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out what P1282 actually is. Then, we'll make sense of the relay system with a really simple analogy. After that, we'll look at the four most likely causes, walk through how to diagnose it step by step, and then do a quick recap to get you back on the road.
Okay, first things first. What is your Jeep trying to tell you with this code? Let's decode that blinking light on your dashboard.
So, the fancy official name is Fuel Pump Relay Control Circuit Malfunction. What does that actually mean in plain English? It just means there's a problem in the electrical path that tells your fuel pump when to turn on and off. Think of it like a communication breakdown between your Jeep's brain and its fuel system. So here's what's happening under the hood. Your Jeep's main computer, called the PCM, is constantly running these little self-tests. When it checks in on the fuel pump circuit, it's looking for a very specific voltage. If it sees a voltage that's not supposed to be there, maybe it's too high, maybe it's too low, bam, it flags the P1282 code and flips on that check engine light. Now, to really fix this, you've got to understand the system you're working with. And don't worry, it sounds way more complicated than it actually is. We can simplify it.
Honestly, the best way to think about this is like a simple light switch in your house. The PCM, your car's computer, that's like your finger deciding it's time to turn on the light. The relay, that's the physical switch on the wall. The circuits are just the wires in the wall, and the fuel pump, well, that's the light bulb. So code P1282 is telling you that there's a problem somewhere with the switch or the wires connected to it.
Okay, let's zoom in a little closer on those wires, because there are actually two different circuits we're talking about here. You've got the control circuit, which is a tiny low-power signal from the computer. That's your finger telling the switch to flip. Then you've got the power circuit, which is the big, high-power electricity that actually makes the fuel pump run. Our problem is somewhere in that chain of command.
Okay, so now that we know how it's supposed to work, let's put on our detective hats. We can narrow this whole thing down to 4 usual suspects that cause this P1282 code.
Here they are, your 4 potential culprits. And this is super important. We're going to list them in the exact order you should check them. It could be a problem with the control circuit or the power circuit. It could be a bad relay or, and this is pretty rare, a failed computer. See the pattern? We always check the cheap and easy stuff, the wires, before we ever start replacing the expensive switches.
All right, let's get to it. Time to roll up our sleeves. Here's your step-by-step game plan to hunt down the real problem causing your P1282 code. First things first, and this is crucial, your first 2 steps are all about using your eyes. You're not replacing anything yet. You're just going to carefully look over all the wiring and all the connectors for both the control circuit and the power circuit. You're looking for anything obvious, a wire that's frayed, a plug that's loose, or any of that nasty green or white crusty stuff. You know, corrosion. And this right here, this is the golden rule of working on your own car. I can't tell you how many times a huge, scary electrical problem turns out to be nothing more than a dirty or loose connection. A good 5-minute visual inspection can literally save you hundreds of dollars and a massive headache. Okay, so what if you've checked all the wiring and it looks absolutely perfect? Then, and only then, do we start thinking about swapping parts. Start with the fuel pump relay. It's usually cheap, easy to find in the fuse box under the hood, and simple to replace. Only if that still doesn't fix it should you even let your mind go to the PCM. That's the absolute last resort, always.
All right, let's wrap this up. We've gone over a lot, so let's do a quick recap to get everything straight in your head before you grab your tools.
So here's your P1282 game plan. Boiled down. 1. P1282 means there's a fuel pump system issue. 2, and this is the most important part, follow the diagnostic order. Check the circuits first, then the parts. 3. Always start with a simple visual check of the wires and plugs. And 4. Remember, fixing a wire is always cheaper than replacing a computer module you didn't need.
And there you have it. You've got the knowledge, you've got the plan, you can totally tackle this code yourself and save a bunch of time and money. So that leaves just one question. Now that this problem's in your rearview mirror, what's the next awesome DIY project for your Jeep gonna be? Thanks for tuning in.